What up, guys? Welcome to the New American Dream Podcast. I'm your host, George Gibson. All right, we're back this week with another awesome show. But before we get into the show, I just want to take the time to say, like right now, it is currently 5:06 a.m. And you're like, why are you recording this at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Well, the reason I'm recording this at 5 o'clock a.m. is because it's not enough time in the day. It's like every day I wake up at 7:30. By the time 8 o'clock hit, the phone, emails, everything is just coming. So I never actually get time to, you know, get things done that I need to take care of before the day starts, as far as in business, personal life, etc. So this week tip, I want everybody to try to wake up at least 2 hours earlier than you normally do. And so far, I just started this the past 2 weeks, and it's like I get so much accomplished, by the time 8 o'clock get here that I'm pretty much done with the day, at least the paperwork and the task. So I just found it so incredible to wake up and actually just see the sun come up. Like, when the last time you actually watched the sun go from go from dark to morning in the morning? You just sitting outside, just thinking, and your thoughts are clear. And I realized that's like the ultimate, sacrifice and the ultimate way to reach your best self, because the noise is quiet. Everybody's asleep right now. I can think, and it's been working out so good for me. So I encourage everybody to try to wake up at least 2 hours earlier this than you normally wake up, and just go to bed earlier, because a lot of time after 9 o'clock is wasted time. All right. So this episode this week is very, very comical. You can relate to this. We talked on a level where it's just like me and this guy was kind of like we met before, but we never met before. That's how much alike. And I want you to think about this. This may not be you, but always remember the big picture. That's all I'm gonna say. The big picture, right? Remember why. What's your why? If you're doing this, is it because your family? Are you doing this because you want freedom? What's your why? Remember your why before you do anything. So let's get into this week's show. We have our guest, special guest. He's very, very smart, and I want you to take his advice and use it. Don't worry about if it worked. Just do it. Start. All right. Welcome to the show. We have GK Cheung. All righty. Welcome to the show. We have GK. What's going on, man?
I'm pretty good.
Yes. So let the people know who you are and what you do.
Okay, well, my name is GK Cheung. I'm based out of New Jersey. I'm a real estate investor as well as an agent, and actually a real estate broker now. I'm actually opening my own real estate brokerage office in Union County, New Jersey, called Realty One Group Lifestyle Homes, and that's going to be opening this summer. So I'm going to be working with agents, homeowners, business owners, investors, all the above.
Okay. All right. So you're in real estate now, you're doing business, but take us back. Like, how was your life growing up?
I grew up in a single parent household, and I think a lot of the stories people have is, you don't have a lot of resources at that age. I can't say that I was super poor, but, I did feel the pinch when it came to buying things. My mom didn't have a lot of resources. So definitely had an impact on my mindset growing up, that I had to do well for myself if I wanted to get myself out of that situation. So I've always been driven to try to excel at anything I do. And real estate has been always something that has interested me. I remember coming and I'm like, I want to be that guy, the guy who's coming to collect rent. And,
Oh, yeah.
Growing up in a Chinese household, the signs of success is home ownership. So you'll see that people come to this country. I was born in New York, but the people who come to this country from overseas, the first thing they do is they save money to buy a house. And over the years, I just had an interest and I studied it, and here I am today. And I'm continuing to learn, because once you think that you know it all, that's your downfall. So there's always things to learn, always opportunities when you meet people.
So why do you think when people come from different countries that like home ownership is like, I guess you could call that their American dream, their key to success? Why do you think what's like, because I think we take it for granted people that was always raised around it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something tangible. And, if you have a lot of people fall in love with the brick, the strong nature of having a brick home, at least in the Chinese culture. But home ownership is somewhere where you can be able to put your head down at night and feel like safe, um, from the elements, and a place where you can be able to raise a family. Renting is something that is ingrained in my head, that is, you're just kind of throwing money away. I think there's different arguments of home ownership versus renting, but as someone who comes to this country brand new, buying a home is just always the American dream, right? Something that has like a big open foyer, a lot of space. That's
Well,
what you see on TV, right?
yeah,
Kind of like
right.
the Home Alone house.
Yeah, so right now, home ownership is like very attractive. You buying a home is like a celebration. But just maybe 4 years ago, 3 years ago, buying a home, we kind of took it for granted. Like, yeah, you bought a home, so what? No big deal. Everybody buy a home. Now with the housing crisis, buying a home is like a really great thing if you can accomplish it, right?
Yes, it's I could say a couple years ago, going in making an offer on a house, it was much easier. And when agents would say, I got someone else interested, I'm like, yeah, right, you ain't got nobody. Today, when they don't even have to say it, there's always somebody waiting in wings to make an offer.
Yes.
So
So
it's just much harder.
so what were your parents' occupation when you was younger?
My mom, she was a clerk at a bank, and more than, I would say, $30,000. So she had to make ends meet in New York with that type of income. She was a hustler. I mean, even though making that little money, she was able to still save money, right?
Wow.
So when I meet people and they say they have no money to save, I just used her an example. Like she was able to save a couple $100s a month, even on a shoestring budget, raising two boys. So I've always had that mindset to put away money, and even saving money blindly. I would just save money just because I needed to save money. I didn't know for what. But doing that, I tell a lot of people, I don't know why money. Save money, and then you have some money in the bank, and let's say it grows to like $10,000. You start seeing opportunities that you didn't see before, because now you have the money in the bank that you can actually use to invest. So as I was saving money as a young man, I would just see things like, hey, this guy's selling a car for $3,000. Maybe I can buy it from him and sell it to somebody else for like $4,000, and make a little money. So opportunities come as your bank account grows, and then eventually it leads to looking at buying homes.
Yeah. So when you saying that, you know what I'm thinking about? Like, so you say if you saving up $10,000, now when you drive by that car and somebody say, "Oh, that car worth 4,000, but he got it for sale for 2,000." Now that you got that savings, that becomes an opportunity. That make like so much sense, because a lot of times you don't know what you're saving for. But that's the prime example. Like things will be right in front of your face. So think about Magic Johnson. You know Magic Johnson, basketball player, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
So imagine him riding down the highway and he's seeing a mall for sale and it say half off. Me and you gonna just ride and be like, oh, that's a good deal. But he
Yeah.
ride by and he see a sign say a mall half off, they getting off the exit. So you only recognize what your bank account can do, probably. You know?
That's kind of how I view it. I didn't think homeownership was something I could achieve growing up, because back then the internet wasn't. I'm a little older than most people, but back then the internet wasn't around in the early '90s, early to mid '90s, and then I didn't get internet till like '99. We got that AOL free 60-minute card, and so in order to do research about home ownership, you just kind of had to like ask around, ask a friend, say, hey, how do your mom or dad buy this house? And once the internet came around, then I could just do my own research. But the starting point was just a way. I some people would say that's foolish, but it really opened my eyes as I continue to level up in my savings, where I could be able to invest the money.
Jeez. So what was you most likely, let's say GK was most likely to be what in high school? What would you have people had
Say,
described you as?
I got a call, so I couldn't hear you.
Okay, I say in high school, they would have voted GK most likely to what? Like, what was the adjective your friends maybe would have described you in high school?
Oh, adjective. I wouldn't say it was most likely to succeed, because not really. It's I felt like getting a job wasn't something that really suited my personality, so I didn't focus on it that much. But I did end up going to college because the military was something that I felt was too strenuous. There's too many rules.
Right.
um, I'd say, I don't think people really had an opinion. I was kind of a quiet person. I kind of kept to myself, had a small group of friends, wasn't really outgoing and sociable until like my late 20s. I didn't really come out of my shell. And kind of always had that interest in trying to get to know people, but it didn't come out till like in my late 20s. Like I made concerted efforts to do that.
Yeah, that's great. That's kind of like me too. Like I think I discovered like what I really want to do probably around 27, 28. And it took me, once I figured out what I want to do, it took me another probably 3 years to actually get traction, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because I feel like you look online nowadays and everybody you see who's really young, you're like, oh wow, they got it together. They're on track to do whatever. And I didn't start any of this until my late 20s, early 30s. Like I'm turning 42 this year. I feel like, I'm learning a lot of things about myself constantly, and it's always trying to do better, right? And when you're in a sales role, there's always uncertainty when you meet different people, and a
Right.
lot of people run from that. So you have to just be comfortable with it. I've learned over the years to be comfortable with uncertainty. You're never going to be able to have control of outcomes.
Yeah, but you know what? When you say that, you don't have control, right? So don't worry over things you don't have control. But like what you're doing every day already is kind of like the world gonna react in a positive success manner. You see how like we connect and stuff based off whatever you're doing is going to attract. So if you do wrong, it's going to attract negativity. If you get up every morning, work out, read, run, you know, positivity things gonna happen. The way that it's just a reaction of life, you know.
Yeah, it's all about the mindset, right? Everyone always throws around you got to have a good mindset, but what does that really mean? Um, for me, I've been battling negative thoughts for the better part of my entire adulthood,
Right,
because you're raised a certain way in a scarcity mindset, because we didn't have a lot, even to my as a young man, because my mom didn't have the money,
right,
or she told me she didn't have the money. So it's always been a scarcity mindset. So you hold on to everything that you save, right? Because you don't want to lose it. You spend so much time and energy saving it, and eventually you're going to have to just tell yourself like, hey, eventually you're going to take a risk and see what good or bad comes out of it. The worst case, it's a learning experience. Everything that I've done in my life, I learned it by doing. And so far everything's been good, but there's been times where things were bad, but it was a learning experience. You don't make the same mistakes again.
right. And you know one thing, the middle class, what happens is we learn how to save money. But when you, like you said, once you keep saving, 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 what happened is if you keep saving, saving, now you got some money. What happened is if you don't invest it, something gonna come up where you're gonna end up touching that money. So maybe your car mess up, or somebody gets sick, or anything, something where emergency come up. So now that $5,000, $10,000 you were saving to invest because you kept saving. Now something came up, you got to take that money and do something, a liability with it, buy a liability. instead of always keeping if as soon as you get enough, put in the asset. Because you'll know when something happened, well, I can't just go touch that house. Because the house, what I can't give you, you know?
Well, that's a good point, because I think a lot of us, we want to buy something that can show people that, or even maybe show ourselves, prove it to ourselves that we're successful.
Mhm.
And that's where you make mistakes at an early age, buying a car. That's one thing I fell into, also buying a car that I couldn't afford. $450 a month payment on a secondhand luxury vehicle.
Oh,
I think a
man.
lot of people can relate to that, but you want to be able to show more than you want to be able to go, because showing the car that I had really held me back in terms of where I can invest my money. Now it's different. I think about, okay, if I invest this money, how much money am I going to be able to make on a monthly basis that can help me buy the car?
Buy the car.
Right.
Right.
Right. It's holding off for a few years to be able to enjoy later on. But you fall into this scarcity mindset too. Now you're making $500 a month passively. You don't want to throw that money away either at a car that you're using to show off to people that really don't care at the end of the day.
Right.
I look at these cars nowadays. I'm like, that's about $700 a month. I mean, technically, I can, really a lot of these luxury cars anymore. Unless you roll up in a Lamborghini, then I'm gonna ask you like what you do.
Right. But what I was gonna say. But the thing about it, what I'm starting to learn is the reason we buy those, cars or whatever is because we're chasing. If we buy that car, we'll be more happy. We're trying to be more happy. So you keep buying more things, and like honestly, everything wear out after like 2 weeks. I get a new car. I like it the first week, the second week, I wash it 3 times, the fourth week, by the time the next month, it's like my old truck or car, And
It's the same car, but it loses its the freshness. One thing I realized is that a lot of the people that you see with these fancy cars, a lot of them are business owners, and the middle class people that are working a day job, they see that and they think that, okay, well, I should get one of those too. They don't realize that a lot of these business owners that have a G-Wagon, right? I'll throw that car out there.
right,
Is because they are taking advantage of the tax system. They're able to depreciate the car, takes write-offs on income that they would have been taxed on heavily anyway. So once you realize really work, you'll say, okay, well, when I'm ready to buy that kind of car and I have that type of income to write off that car, then I'll get one.
Yep. So that's like people understand. Like cars are great. Cars are meant to get you from one place to another, but don't overload a lot of debt into a car.
Yeah, at this point in my life, I just want that thing to be reliable.
Yes.
So I haven't got time.
So what was your first career job, either after college? What's like your first real job?
Real job?
Yes.
I got a job doing payroll accounting at Bellevue Hospital Center in New York City. A job 4.5 years. Basically, I just processed payroll for about roughly 1,200 hospital employees. And one thing I learned about working at a job, I'm not good at counting. I'm not good with details. I'm more of a high level person, and I got out of phone calls. Okay. So didn't like that doing accounting. I learned that really quick.
Right. So that's I got an accounting degree, and that I didn't realize I wasn't a detailed person either until I got my first job. I was a mailman. That was like my first, $50,000 a year job. So that's crazy that you say you're not detailed. So do you look at situations like me, and when I was a mailman, I always looked at the big picture, and the big picture to me was this is temporary job to the next level. And it's just the big picture is people be going crazy over like work relationships, like stress over supervisors, just different things. People be stressing out about a job. And I was like, this is just a temporary, like the big picture is, what's the big picture? The big picture is the end goal, what you really gonna be doing, So I think,
Yeah, I
like you
mean,
said,
one thing I learned from that job, I mean, I try to take every job, no matter how good or bad it was, you will learn something from it, right? It's all about growing yourself, changing the way you do things. And one thing I learned about that job is that I did things kind of haphazardly with payroll. And you know, in my older age, I realized, okay, well, there's a sense of there should have been more care in the way I did things because you're dealing with people's paychecks, right? And you want to make sure it's correct and the overtime money. At that time, I kind of just was like, whatever, you get your money, you get your money, right?
right,
And I apply those now to the things I do. Like I don't want to have that type of attitude. I don't want people on my team to have that kind of attitude. No matter where you are, you could be working at a fast food restaurant. You got to make sure you take care of the customer because you're getting paid for that job, right? And that job, I was still able to save money, right? I was able to put some money aside, and I used that money to be able to put down some money on my first house, which I still own today. It's a two-family
so
house.
so did you have a lot of mistakes, or like how did you realize you wasn't a detailed person?
You put yourself into certain careers that you think where the money is, and finance or accounting, and there's a lot of people. I don't think I'm the only one. They just do it. They don't particularly enjoy it. I've met some accountants that really love what they do, and that's great, but that's not me.
Right.
Uh, but I realized really quickly, but I just kind of suffered through it for 4.5 years, 5 years, and I wanted to do something that was uh, more client facing, more interpersonal.
Yes. So what did your coworkers think about you when y'all talk? Like how were their head versus your head? What did they think about your idea of what you were doing? Like how was that,
I think
conversation?
I think a lot of people, not in just that role, they're kind of there's a small percentage of people that are truly entrepreneurs that want to do something more, that are willing to take risks in starting a business or going out on your own. I think that's a small percentage. Most people, I would say, are comfortable just kind of working a routine job. They're willing to put up with the mundane
Hmm.
because of the fear of the other side, which is right. When you have all that fear of uncertainty, you're just going to stick there, and that's a safe route, and you're going to get what you get, but you're never going to be able to retire off of those those lower paid jobs. That's just that's just the truth, right? I mean, you may retire, but you're not going to be really able to do what you want to do in life when you do retire.
And you know why? Because all right, just think if we put money in our retirement right now, right? This is what happened to the older generation. They put all this money into retirement, and when we retired, when we was going through the system, $20 an hour was is good or whatever. But say in 50 or 40 years, or wait, 30 years from now, when you retire, maybe the world making $40 an hour is minimum wage. Now, all the money you base your life off of, like right now, my parents and older people, they didn't think a milk or grocery store, you go in there and spend $100, you come out with 3 bags or 4 bags. They thought you go to the grocery store with $100, you come out with a cart full. That ain't, and that's what they based
Yeah.
their retirement off of when they was creating these social security and all this stuff. It was based off gas, $2, milk, 50 cents, whatever. So what happened to inflation to where, like, say you kept your job, I kept my job, and we retired, and they paying us $2,000 a month or whatever. But what if rent now minimum rent is $3,000 or $4,000 a month? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to think about it, right? And I think most people, they put money away, not thinking if or they invest money into their retirement accounts, not knowing if what they're putting away is really going to get them to the dollar amount that they need to retire,
Right.
right? You put away 10% of your paycheck, and the far majority, if you take the time to sit down and look at your accounts, there's going to be a shortfall, a big shortfall. So what are you going to do to make up for that shortfall? And most people, they do closer to their 50s and they realize they're not going to have enough, so they're going to always kind of retain a part-time job. The smart ones, I think a lot of the younger folks nowadays, they're catching on, right? They're working their J jobs. Some of them, they get paid pretty well, and they're more careful with their money, right? They're investing it, they're buying homes, they're house hacking, they're putting off a lot of the major purchases until they get to a certain level where they have the work optional lifestyle. One thing I would say is that I see a lot of people that they're in a rush to get to a work optional lifestyle. I think that's a big mistake, because buying a multifamily home, you're like, in 5 years, I'm going to retire. They have to realize that that's probably not going to happen. You're going to have to do a little bit more. And that was me. Like when I bought my first couple of houses, I'm like, I'm going to retire tomorrow. In like 5 years, it's going to be done. And, it's never going to be enough. I think I haven't thought about what that dollar amount is, but I would say most people, if they're making 10,000 a month passively, they're going to be pretty okay. But it's going to take a lot of time and energy, especially if you're buying on your own. Right. And you don't have, most people, I would say, I think in the tri-state New York, New Jersey area, most people are family. You have to be probably making at least 6 figures combined to have any kind of decent lifestyle. I think I might be even shortchanging that. You might need more.
Right.
And be able to save. That's the key. I mean, you could be able to spend everything you make, but in order to buy homes on your own, you got to probably save at least $50,000 a year, right?
No, that's way more than anybody's saving in the average. So what do you think I'm gonna ask, what do you think the average person's saving rate is right now versus what ideally would be healthy for the world? What should they aim for? What do you think people's saving rate, the average right now?
Oh, man, a lot of people that save like crazy, and then there's people that you think are saving, they're not saving nothing. I think in order to be successful, you got to be able to save at least 35 to 40% of your take home pay, and then be able to take advantage of the tax write-offs of what real estate brings to the table.
That's 35%. That's almost at 50%, man. So if that's 35% would be ideal. I think people probably save, if people make $1,000 a week, that's $4,000 a month. People probably only save $200 of that. So what's $200 out of $4,000?
That's little. I mean, when you're spitting those numbers out to me, I hear $4,000 a month in income. You should be able to save at least $1,000.
At least $1,000, right?
That's kind of how I view it, right? Because
you should. But the cost of living, like I just told you, when you go to Walmart, like even now, I just fixed up a house. And I was talking to one of my business partners. He's like, man, we went way over budget, basically. I'm like, yeah, materials, labor, everything just doubled just over in 1 year. Everything doubled. So that $100 now gets you $50 worth of labor and materials.
Yeah.
So that 4,000, what used to get you a real 4,000, actually only getting you about $2,000 worth of life now.
Yeah. I mean, there's customers, clients that I've worked with in the past that have bought multifamily homes, like 2-family homes that have like a bonus space. Okay. And they're able to, come in with a FHA loan. I'm sure you're familiar with it, obviously, George, but, come in with 5% down on a $500,000 property. Ooh. And actually not 5%, 3.5%.
3.5%,
plus the closing. You come in with like 30,000 down. And they end up renting out the 2 units, and they live in the bonus space for a couple $100 to even sometimes free. Yeah. And I got a text from a client of mine. He said that he's like a year and a half in. He's paid off all his credit card bills, and he's saving up money now. Like he was probably, I don't even know what the number was, but he was probably like $30,000 in debt after he bought the house. But now he makes his money from his job, and he makes his money from his side hustle, and then he has 0 living expenses, and he's able to take the house as a write-off. So that to me is a simple way for somebody to kind of level up without necessarily having a lot of knowledge about investing in real estate.
I was literally like, as you were saying this, like how I was driving the mail truck and I would listen to Bigger Pockets podcast. And they started talking about how you buy a duplex, live on one side and rent out the other. When I heard of that concept, I think I went home that day and told my wife, like, we got to sell this house and get a duplex. Because literally we were both working. Our monthly mortgage was like $1,000 a month. So we working, but it's not fast enough. It's like Yeah,
Yeah.
we saving 35%, like you said.
Yeah.
That's where we at. And I'm like, they said if you buy these duplexes, we live in one side and rent the other side out. And it was like a light bulb moment. I mean, when I tell you my house is probably for sale the next week, and this is my first house I ever bought. I called a realtor. She was like, it doesn't cost you to list it for sale. I'm like, what do you think we can sell it for? And then she told me the number. I'm like, shoot, we just bought this house. Let's try it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that was like that's like probably like the best thing, the best move I made. Like out of everything people say, like you just bought the house, don't do this, don't do that. Buying a 2-family home and living in one side and renting the other side out was like the pivotal moment in like everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, they have that idea, but they're not willing to sacrifice because a lot of times I hear people, I'm not willing to sacrifice my privacy.
Exactly.
Between you and the other person, it's like living in an apartment. But that's I've seen people sacrifice for 4 or 5 years, and then they go buy another, and then all of a sudden now they have their own house, like that's on a private.
This how they should look at it. If you buy it at a good deal, and say you paying, like I was paying $1,000 a month. I went from paying $1,000 a month to making $200 a month to live somewhere.
They're paying you to live there.
Yes. So it was, think about that. So if you spend $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it was just such a that was the key though. But that's people, if you want to do anything, listen to that part. That's like if you just starting a new job, that's the first thing you should do. Buy a multi-family unit, live in one unit, and rent out the rest. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I did. My situation when I bought that 2-family house in 2004. I mean, I wasn't living there for $200. I wasn't getting paid to live there, but it was probably like $800 a month to live there.
You know what I did though? I took it to the extreme. I Airbnb my other side, so it was, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So you were making a little bit more revenue on that thing.
Yeah, because Airbnb, it probably would have rented for like $1,000, but Airbnb probably bringing like $1,500, So yeah. But all right, so far, what's like the biggest hurdle in your life you had to overcome, or like something that was like just a tough? I don't want to say it's a failure because I know you probably learned from it, but what's a lesson you learned?
A lesson I learned is because I'm not super detail oriented, I need to stop telling myself that. Right. And
right.
I think I would say most people are probably okay with just looking at spreadsheets, but I'm like the opposite. I kind of like shut down. But I force myself to say, hey, let's slow down. Let's take a look at, measure 3 times and cut once when you're doing things with money.
Okay.
I kind of like paper napkin things. I say, okay, well, this house costs this much money, and I'm gonna put down this, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna still make this much money, or I'm gonna have this kind of revenue if I fix it up. And that kind of stuff burned me. Like, I bought a house, $600,000 3-family in New Jersey, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be able to cash flow XYZ numbers, and it wasn't anywhere near after all the expenses, the water, the taxes, the tenants that were in that property on them, I couldn't rent on them. I'm not that type of person. So, the only way I was able to get that property into like a decent cash flowing state was to refinance it. So I'm like, okay, well, at least that was some saving grace. Looking back at it, I was more focused on just buying the property because I was buying it for like over $100,000 on the market value. So, but in any case, the whole lesson there is just to just take your time. I'm a typical New Yorker. I want things done yesterday, Right. So if I see opportunities, I want to jump on it before the other person gets it.
Man, I can tell you learned something though. You learned from it. But you know what?
Trust the numbers.
The best real estate investors though are people like us who don't see the details, because a person who sees the details a lot of times, they would never buy it because they're so smart that they see everything. I'm serious, man. I'm
laughing because that's a wonderful point.
Yeah, because sometimes people overanalyze deals. Like me, man, I don't know how I analyze deals, but I know I analyze them, but I don't know how I analyze them. if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like I'm not detailed. It's like, all right, I buy this. How much I rent for? Okay, rent for this. How much the mortgage gonna be? Okay, I'll make this much. All right, let's try it. That's how
Yeah.
far I go. I don't go into what color the toilet, what does this work? Does that light switch work? Does that fan twist all the way around fast? Nah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna leave myself enough meat on the bone where if that fan don't work right, it's still a decent deal.
Well, I mean that deal, that 3-family home that I bought, I mean, there was so much equity when buying the house. It was kind of like it was a win-win, right? If I'm
Right.
not getting cash flow, I can always sell it. That's kind of how I viewed it. But
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. In order to be, you can't always full of everything, and you can't be too smart for your own good, because
Exactly.
that's when people don't take action. You have to be some type of stupid to be an entrepreneur. That's what I always say.
Man, that's no more. That's the best truth you can get, because if you're too smart, you won't do it. Like I have bought houses, I think, with no inspection, man. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like a big purchase at the time. I'm like,
And do you run into issues, or you were able to?
yeah, I ran into
do okay?
issues. I ran into issues. Yes, I ran into issues. I ran into many issues, but there weren't like issues that made it like if I would do that, I wouldn't have bought it. It wasn't that type of issue. It was like, oh yeah, that septic, it doesn't work. Like we had it checked, but all you got to do is get it pumped out, and they get it checked, and it looked like it worked. The septic,
Yeah.
a month later, we pumping the septic tank out every month, $300, $300 because it didn't work.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's what no inspection gets you.
So you had to end up changing out the whole septic system, or?
Well, I was a mailman, so as a mailman, it's two things you learn. You talk to people on bikes because they watching your back, and you just, you observe. So in this case, I had a company come out there, and they were about to charge us like $8,000 to fix it. Well, my neighbor, he owned like all half of the houses on that block, and his maintenance guy was out there working. And I told him my issue. He was like, "Oh man, all my houses do the same thing." Then he said, "This is all you got to do." And he like, "My maintenance man can do it for you tomorrow." That $8,000 problem turned into a $200 problem.
What was the problem? I'm really curious. I haven't dealt with septic before.
Well, basically the septic tank is no good. So, this is no legal advice. But basically, he took all the water, and instead of running into the septic tank, they ran it into the ground.
Okay. You know what I mean? Like the rainwater from the gutters and stuff.
Yeah, somewhere they dug and they put the water going into the ground. So
no, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, so it basically saved us, $8,000, but that was just all, talking to your neighbors, talking to the person, because the person who fixed it, man, he didn't even have a bike or car or house or nothing. It's just a
What's the value of just like networking? And I'm a big believer in networking with other real estate enthusiastic people,
right?
Because you're gonna get these types of gems, right? It's the most kosher thing to do, but I think if it's rainwater and you're putting it in an area that's not impacting your neighbors, I feel like that could be a good solution.
Right. So yeah, but it's many situations like that where I didn't get a full inspection, or just I see the big picture. The big picture is, like you said, I got $50,000 worth of equity. I don't care. I'll sell it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Especially in today's hot market. I mean, as a real estate broker, I think the market's cooled down a little bit.
Right.
But there's still a lot of people that are looking to buy. I think more so on single family homes than the family property. When I say multifamily, I mean like 2, 3, or 4 families. Nothing like crazy big. But there's a lot more savvy investors now that are looking to do the house hack. I'm running into a lot more of them.
Yeah. So what is your best talent or natural given, God-given gift that helps you in real estate? What's something that puts you above your peers or competitors in real estate that you just automatic been good at this? No practice, no nothing.
I wouldn't say it was a talent. I just think I learned to slow down a little bit. You in real estate, you run across a lot of people with A-type, and you have to be able to learn how to listen and talk less, and really finding out what people want versus you imposing your own ideas on what they should do, right? Because everyone's lifestyle is different and everyone's goals are different. So once you understand what people want, then you can really be able to show them, where they can go and what their options are.
So
So asking more questions, and then
okay.
pausing to listen, and then asking follow-up questions. I had to really slow myself down to do that, and not just in real estate sales. I think when you're meeting with people, you get to know, because that's how you can connect with them, really understanding what their motives are.
Right. So is it anybody like in your family that your mom be like, hey, gee, you remind us of grandpa or uncle such and such. He was just like you. He was like, did you have anybody in your family that you never got to
No,
meet?
no, I don't think so. I pray that nobody in my family is as crazy as I am.
It gotta be somebody your mom said you reminded you of in the family.
I think I there's my well, I wouldn't say there's a lot. There's probably one or two people in my family that have similar personality to me, but they don't have the ethical side of it.
Okay.
And if you have a personality like mine and you don't have the ethical values in place, then you're going to use it for all the wrong reasons. You know,
No,
because I'm always looking for like opportunities. I'm looking for like where there's a hole where I can be able to come in and do something with it, right, to help my family, or even like bring someone into it so that they can be able to take advantage of it.
man, I don't know if I should say this, but my dad was telling me it was about a guy, right? Because I understand exactly what you said when you said with your personality, you got people in your family. I comprehend. Hope the audience comprehend what you was trying to say. But my dad was telling me about he went to school in high school with a guy, or maybe just after high school. But this guy was that type of personality, just like you, but completely opposite, straight
Yeah.
negative. So he was
Yep.
like this type of person. He would be riding, y'all just be riding, going to the beach or hanging out. He would see a house getting built and analyze and remember it and be like, tonight I'm coming back and we taking all the appliances out of here. Hey, pick me up here. And
Yeah.
he said, my dad said he would like analyze and study people and study stuff and then go steal it. He could steal anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this person is in prison. Like I couldn't believe it. But my dad, like he always had a trunk full of cigarettes. Like he had a car.
If he applied those strengths to like something good, imagine how well he would do in life.
Man, he would be Jeff Bezos. That's what I be trying to
Yeah.
tell people, man.
Yeah.
If you can go and rob a bank and get away with it, you can start a business like Craigslist or Facebook. That's how brilliant you got to almost be to get away with such high crimes,
That's the thing. I know those types of people are out there, so I always try to do things to make sure that I cover myself from those types of liabilities, right? I mean, I'm from New York, so I know what's out there.
Right.
Lock your windows, lock your doors at all times, right? So, but yeah, I think the biggest strength I'd say is just not just learning about people and just understanding them, but always taking a look at what you can do better yourself. Everyone always says that, oh, you gotta improve yourself. But I always think like, okay, well, I messed up here. What can I be able to change about what I did so that I don't make the same mistake? Same thing in a sales capacity. I mean, I've been to many sales meetings where, you just come in and just talk about your product, talk about how good you are, and then the meeting kind of falls flat. How many times can you do that until you figure out that that's not going to work?
Right on.
Right. So I'm a big student of the game. I learn how to do everything that I've done on my own. And even if like, let's say, George, you come and tell me how to do certain things, I'm like, okay, I'll take it in, but I won't understand it until I actually apply it myself and make some mistakes.
No, that's definitely me because like people, I remember like as when I was mailman, the whole thing was you knew. So whoever trained you, they're gonna teach you to do it how they do it. But I'm the type of person, you just teach me how to do it, and then I'm gonna do what's comfortable for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I think. I mean, people should always try to do, do what's comfortable for you. What is something like you got to have for your life or for your business, like a must have?
Must have.
Like, like some people say they gotta have a cleaning lady, or some people say they gotta travel once a month, or whatever. What's something that
in
it
life.
helps you in life in general? Like, this is something I gotta do every day, or something.
Well, I mean, I don't have. I mean, I do play a little bit of golf, so but I've taken a lot of time off of that because it's very time consuming. But I do enjoy spending time with my kids. I try to balance it out because when you're running your own business, it's you're never off the clock.
Right.
So it could be 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and you want to do certain things for your business, but you got to learn how to shut down a little bit and spend some time with your kids. I have 2 young ones. I'm actually being in brokerage, so I got the contractor blowing up my phone here.
Oh, okay. So, all right, last 3 questions, and we get up out of here. All right.
Spend some time with my children and learning how to shut down for a little bit.
Gotcha. So these the last 5 top. First thing come to your mind.
Okay.
All right. If you could spend a day with a mentor, who would it be?
With a mentor, I mean, I would probably spend some time with Robert Kiyosaki, and like should now where are some holes in my game now, and where I should be planning my game for the next 5 or 10 years.
Right. That's a good one. All right. What's a book that you read to help you be more? What's a book you have read to help you be most successful?
What book?
Yes.
I mean, I've read a lot of books halfway. Because my personality, I can't focus on one thing. I would say the Rich Dad Poor Dad was the one that really got me started. I listened to I don't read books. I listened to half of the audiobook. Still on my playlist. The funny, a lot of people will probably roast me for this, but I read this book called Millionaire Booklet by Grant Cardone.
Oh no, I read that.
It's a really book, but I like the way he talks. I mean, there's good and bad things about him. He's a great marketer, but that hit close to home, like his story, his upbringing, and how he kind of parlayed his car salesman job into like what he has today. It really resonates with me, and I try to apply a lot of his principles. Just work hard and be smart with money, and don't invest, don't buy liabilities until you're ready, until you have enough passive income to do so. So exactly. Right now I'm still at that point where I'm still grinding, trying to make a profitable and successful office. And at some point down the road, I might be able to have some leisure with my passive income.
Yes. Don't wait too late. I say sometimes you're ready before you know it. You just don't realize, because for me, taking vacations costs money, but every time I take a vacation, I might see something or like have that time away in the mountains or whatever. I figure out something to help my business. That's what I realized, taking a break, like, because sometimes, you just keep putting off and then you never do it,
Yeah, when you, I'm in my 40s now, so
right.
I'm trying to balance it out a little bit, right? Because it's not all about hustle. You got to be able to enjoy your life a little bit. We only got maybe 40 more years to live on this earth. I mean, I'm targeting 80 is probably when I'll die. But
man, you need to raise that number up. My grandma is 90. She turning 90 July 3rd, man. So you got at least
bless her. She has good health.
With technology, man, you can get to 100. That's my goal, because
I want to be able to enjoy stuff while I still have like a nice health, like pain walking through like Mount Fuji and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and you know, like the American way or what the world we base like the person who win in life is off money, but the real winner in life is the person who lived the longest. To me,
Yes,
you
it
know what I
is.
mean? I'd rather live long than have like billions of dollars, you know? Because what's the
Yeah, I
point
mean
of,
the goal is to create a lifestyle that works for you,
yeah.
right? Everyone has, you know, and just thinking about lifestyle, you know, some people think that they should be living a certain when other people are telling them, you know. So you have to take some time to think about what you want personally.
So, what is your spiritual animal? Animal, if you say, oh, that animal acts like me.
Spirit animal. Well, I mean, I'm a Leo, so I always have to go with the lion. Um, Leo sign. So the lion is one that is, I think, more tactful
Right?
when he wants to be, and then he'll go crazy when he
When it has to.
he'll go crazy when he has to. But you know, like I think that's a bad comparison. Like for me, I try to be more tactful in the way I have people. I have a high standard in how I do things. So I expect the same out of everybody that I interact with.
Got it. All right. Biggest problem in your business right now that you're trying to solve.
I think the biggest problem is getting people to actually be motivated to go out there and sell houses. Um, you know, with this crazy market, it's tough for anybody, right? As a real estate agent. But I'm a big believer that if you can be able to survive in a tough market when times are tight, that when better, be able to do more.
Yeah.
So just putting in that extra effort and work. But again, it's effort based on what the type of lifestyle that you want to have.
So you know what I can say? When you told me the problem, I always, you know, for some reason I just asked this
Say
question,
that
but
again, George. I couldn't hear you there for a second. You cut out.
I say when you told me a problem, you know, immediately I'm that brain that thinks solution. So, um, you know, your agents they're thinking it's hard to sell houses in this market or hard to help buyers, right? So instead of looking at how much I can sell, you should try to get them to look at what value can they bring to people to make their lives better. Like in this market, it's very difficult. So yeah, it's one thing to sell houses, but how can I improve um, this person? Uh, what if this person way of trying to buy or sell a house? Like how can you
Well, I
improve?
think I think the soft skills are something that you have to continue to learn, like
Right?
how to interact with people, because you can't bring somebody value if you don't know what it is that is valuable to
No,
them,
that's
right?
what it is.
Right.
That's what it is. And
Yeah.
being
So,
and being more knowledgeable
yeah.
about that market instead of because everybody's trying to sell to get money now. It's so like weird, but nobody's
Yeah.
actually trying to bring a real difference to the table.
Yeah. That's where the conversations you have and are valuable. You can't be in a huge rush to uh, to push somebody into a hole that they don't want to be in, especially
Right.
when you're with clients. And just ask more questions. I would say that um, you know, in this crazy market, I mean, it's just the only thing that you have control over as in anything that you do. It doesn't have to just be specifically real estate agents. Is what you do on a consistent basis, right? Every day, even at times that you don't want to do the work, you put in the effort, right? You know, whether it's calling people, emailing, prospecting, having networking, you know, we don't want to do that every day,
Right.
right? So you do that even when you don't want to, and then when you do want to, you double it up.
Ooh.
The most successful people, they do it in and out every day, even if they go on months at a time where they're not finding much success, they still do the work, and you focus on those fundamentals, and you're going to be successful. Um, you know, one thing I'll bring this up really quick. I was talking to my wife the other day. Um, one thing I struggled with so much with in college is calculus. Not And I was like, let me take a look at my transcript. How many times I had to take that class? And I never actually was able to pass that class, but I
Wow.
was able to find a counselor who gave me some advice on changing my major and not having to take that class as a requirement. But I took that class 8 times. So it's not from lack of effort that so I'm a very persistent person. I always, even though it was challenging, I still kept on pushing. And even after I couldn't pass that class, I made the effort to go to seek counseling at the academic to how I around that class and still graduate. So it's a kind of a bad example, but
No.
that just shows you like you have to
That's
be resilient on problem solving.
yes, man. You took a, I was thinking about my situation because I was in the same situation. I needed a class to pass. And I took the same teacher 3 times, man. And he failed me 3 times. And you
Yeah,
just said you took a class 8 times.
8 times.
Oh my God. But
And it's hilarious because a lot of people dropped out of my college because they had thought that the only way they can get the degree is you have to pass that class. Only this because I had to take like some kind of a probation class because
right.
I couldn't get through that class, and everybody was in there for the same reason, that
Yes.
calculus class.
But you know what my class was? Man, I hope they listening right now. Because this dude made my college so hard. Government accounting. And everybody was failing the class. And people were signing up for like online classes at different colleges just to avoid this person. And
Yes.
that's what I had to do. I had to transfer colleges, man. I had one class I needed to graduate done with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He kept failing me. So I had to literally transfer schools and go take the class at a different school. And I passed it though with a B. So when you say 8 times, I'm not going to say it was your fault, man, because that's like, it could be the teacher. Because in my case, he failed me 3 times. I went over to a bigger, better college and passed it with a B, effortless.
Yeah. But look, I mean, you were resourceful, right? On figuring a way. You didn't say, okay, well, I'm done with school. I'm not going to get my degree.
You know the crazy part, man? They didn't let me go do that. I had to basically force that.
Yes. So just being resilient, I think that's just the example of the mentality that you are, as well as me, right? You're able to figure it out. You buy a house sight unseen, and then you kind of like figure it out as you go.
That's the question. That's the question we're gonna ask our employees when we get ready. That's the question on the test. If you how many times have you felt at something, like how many times you like, evidently we both never gave up. We just had to figure out a way. So that's the type of people I want on my team. Somebody that, they try to jump, they get stuck, and they give up. We want people that say, we can't go up, but let's go under or around or something, you know?
I mean, a couple once or twice, withdrawn. Got to figure a way. I mean, you're just a big problem solver.
Yeah, and that's what I say. People ask me what make a good real estate investor. Well, or I say real estate is not for everybody, because if I didn't like it or love it how I do, I would have got berserk or just went crazy on some deals because it kept being problems. You ever had something like that? And
yeah, I mean, it's you always think like, oh man, maybe I'm going to sell this property because it's just too many issues. But then you realize, okay, well, where are you going to put this money? This property, you're not going to get any of the benefits, the depreciation, and all these things that you want. So until there's a better place where you can be able to put the money, it's going to stay there. Right? That's kind of how I view it. I don't know. I haven't done like flips and stuff. Most of my stuff is buy and hold rentals, and eventually I want to be able to buy something a little bit larger, so that I can be able to have staff all in one place to manage the property, versus me having to deploy workers. I mean, but there's levels to the game, right? And I'm not in a huge rush. That's one thing I'm being to make it big. You just got to go at your own pace.
Right. So the older version of the old American dream would be, you would be still working at the hospital, keeping payroll checks with 12, maybe 2,000 people now. Maybe be a manager at the hospital. That's the old American dream. what is your version of the new American dream that you envision for your kids?
Yeah, I mean, my kids, I think one out of the two probably has similar personality to me. The other one I think is one that could be a great employee or an artist. I think is individual, right? When you look at someone like me, I want something where I'm going to be able to get up in the morning every day and do what I like, have the flexibility, but also knowing that you need to have the discipline to be able to work. But it's not work when you enjoy it, right? I don't think I think I'd be bored out of my mind if I actually was retired, like doing nothing. It's good to do that maybe for a week or two, you go on vacation, but just waking up every day and doing something that you're passionate about. And everyone always says, hey, do something you're passionate about. But it goes back to what I talked about in the beginning. You don't know what you're passionate about until you're in a position to see those opportunities. And for me, you know, I think it would work for anybody, right? Put some money away, um, look for opportunities, try it out. And if you end up liking it, then pursue that full time. But there's nothing wrong with being an employee and investing passively, either, right? I look
Right.
at people like my wife who has an accounting background. She loves what she does, and I said, just keep doing what you're doing and let me do what I gotta do here. I could be the full-time real estate professional of the family and take advantage of all the tax advantages of being a full-time real estate and job.
Let me ask you this: do your wife get jealous of your life? Like you don't have to go to work 9 to 5, or is she okay with you doing that and she just got her job?
No, I don't think so. I think in marriage, you have to have mutual communication and understanding. I think she'd rather see me happy than working a 9 to 5 job, and even let's say, for example, if you're a husband and wife and one person is dissatisfied with their employment, you want a spouse that's going to even less money happier doing something else, then you should allow them to pursue that, right?
Right,
But you have to be able to plan accordingly, like plan for a couple of years, and then make those decisions
man.
together.
This has been a great podcast. Let the people know if they want to reach out to you, talk to you, find you. How could they contact you, G?
You can find me on Instagram. My handle is the G Lifestyle, as well as you can follow my company's handle as well as ROG Lifestyle Homes. That's the real estate brokerage that I own in Union County. Be a if you're brand new, we're looking for new agents as well. And then if you're an experienced agent looking for a change of pace, a different culture, we could be a great firm for you as well. So definitely start the conversation. That's all. That's all it's about. Let's talk about it and see where we can go from there.
Hey, listen, G, I want you to do it big. Your potential is high. I know you want to take it slow, but 2022 is your year.
I appreciate it, George. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.